Alright, Quimera. Recently, thanks to the wonderful people at Reburn Studios, I had the opportunity to jump in and see what Quimera had to offer. If you're not familiar with the game, it's a first-person, very story-driven PvE co-op shooter that you can actually play with up to 2 friends. You're set in a futuristic dystopian Latin America setting, a unique backdrop you rarely if ever see, and you play as a PMC or mercenary and are thrust into a war involving not just human politics and faction struggles, but also murderous robots that control massive portions of the borders between human settlements. We'll talk about a lot of that later, but that's the basic setup of Quimera. Now, the people over at Reburn did sponsor this video to give you guys my unfiltered thoughts on the game, so huge shout out to them, and let's dive into my complete review of Quimera. So first things first, what we have at the moment is a full playthrough of Act 1 through 3, giving you a pretty solid chunk of a well-told story. Now, as I said, I am someone who doesn't really get to see a setting like this, so I was actually pretty intrigued, and there was actually a pretty good amount of deception, twists, and turns in this world that they are actually building. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything specific in this review, but since I'm sure a lot of you want to experience it yourself, but the story was engaging even with just those 3 acts. The game is still in early access, of course, so there's definitely more to come, but from what we have so far, I feel like the storytelling is one of the strongest elements in the entire game. As I mentioned in the intro, you play as a mercenary who gets tied up in a lot of trouble, and eventually you sign up for a program that equips you with a super suit called exoskeletons. This enhances your abilities, giving you unique skills, and just make you feel much more powerful than when you initially start the game. Touching on those elements specifically early, because I know combat is really important, the exosuits actually really does make your character feel like a force to reckon with. You have actual abilities themselves that you don't actually start with. So for example, you have a radar ability that lets you pinpoint and scan enemies through the wall, which essentially is wall hacks. And if you have a weapon that can penetrate through walls, which there are some present in the game, you can shoot enemies through the wall and just like absolutely kill them, which was actually pretty dope because I actually, once again, have never played a game that actually allows you to have wall hacks, so that was really cool. As you progress through the game, you will unlock more abilities like cloaking, which not only turns you invisible but also drops a decoy if your health drops between like fatal levels, something that really helped me stay alive in some of the tight fights that we had in the game, which the game actually is pretty challenging all things considered, and the exoskeletons actually make the character feel significantly stronger compared to the early parts of the game, so implementation of them were really good. Now, in addition to those exoskeletons or exosuits, whatever you want to call them, you have access to a variety of weapons. When I played it, I had access to a few options. You start off with what looks like a futuristic AK, is essentially an AK but in a futuristic, and then you can use your crypto earned from completing contracts to buy upgrades like the wall penetrating ammo weapon that we talked about a second ago, or in my case a fully equipped rifle with an ACOG zoom and a red dot sight, which was actually pretty super versatile. And then I purchased a secondary, which was a EMP round pistol that was effective against machines, so you actually have a pretty decent amount of variety already despite only having 3 acts in the game. Speaking of that, the game includes a system where different ammo types are more effective against certain enemy, and this is kind of their unique gimmick that I don't believe I've seen in a game before. So the more traditional bullets are better for the humanoid enemies, while the EMP rounds are more effective against the robots. Sometimes you'll face off against something like a Goliath. This is like a massive ship that like shoots at you, and you can use it for both. The bullets will strip off the armor pieces, and the EMP will target the weak electrical component, and it's a pretty unique mechanic that actually encourages weapon swapping, again something I don't really see. You'll have to go into every mission and be prepared because enemies can vary a lot. Sometimes you go in, it's just nothing but infantry, other times it's like a mixture of like robotic enemies, so you kind of have to have a combination of both. Do you need to always switch? No, bullets can still hurt enemies that are like robotic in nature, and the EMPs can still hurt the humanoids because I mean it's still a projectile, but obviously these are going to be way less effective depending on what you shoot at, so you'll probably end up burning through more ammo if you're not using the right tool for the job. Now, I played on normal difficulty, and even then I relied really heavily on the AR because I just love my primary more than anything else, but I suspect on like more of the higher difficulties you will have to swap weapons more often to conserve ammo because you know you're probably not gonna have a ton of ammo for the much more tankier enemies. There are 4 difficulty settings, and you can select contracts and play with your friends in co-op from this menu, so you'll be able to set up your loadout, get your allies in, get your own unique weapons, and at this point you'll probably coordinate what you guys want to do and accomplish, and so that's where a lot of the co-op elements actually start. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience it because I had a playtest version, and obviously I can't invite friends to it, but nonetheless it does have a really cool contract system that you can actually start, you know, do your briefings with your friend from. And in my opinion, the weapon system that they actually put together created a pretty healthy gameplay loop. It felt really well balanced. It's very rare you actually see a game that actually encourages weapon swapping, and I actually use my pistol quite a bit, so it was actually really cool. Talking a little bit more on the performance, which is very important to a lot of players. Performance was actually pretty solid. This is an early access title, so you do come to expect things to have a little bit of bugs or things of the sort, performance issues. For me, I didn't have any performance issues of any sort. I had the occasional stutter here and there, but keep in mind, as you guys who are probably regular watchers of the channel, I have a much lower end system. I run a 3060, which, I mean, even saying mid-tier is kind of pushing it at this point in the gaming space. And yes, I will be upgrading very soon, but even then, the game ran pretty well. I used a combination of epic as well as high settings while I was recording and editing, and the performance was smooth overall. Again, occasional stutter here and there, but again, that's kind of my system problem and not the game problem. It ran pretty damn good. If you're using a more modern, mid or higher grade system, the game is going to be buttery smooth. So pretty good performance. I'm very happy to see that. From a bug standpoint, I know this one is going to be something you probably see in the reviews fairly often. I ran into one bug. It was my gun not necessarily being able to ADS. It fixed itself over like 10 seconds, give or take. That was the only bug that I ran into. So otherwise, for me, in terms of like stability, bugs and things of the sort, the game felt pretty stable. For early access title, I didn't have much of any problem, and again, I have a pretty mid to lower end system, so that's my personal experience. On the graphics and the environmental side of things, the game looks good. I mean, the game is made in Unreal Engine 5 from what I know, and I played on epic settings, and the attention to detail was really good. You have trash, you had graffiti. It felt like, you know, you lived in a world that was in a dystopian Latin America world, which was really cool. It's not the most graphically advanced game in the world, of course, but it has solid visuals. Weapon feedback was pretty good, with each of their weapons sounding pretty punchy for the most part. That combined with the variety of environments, we had the jungles, the very lush jungles, the towers and skyscrapers, and then like this dark machine world. There were very distinctive, different like locations, and they felt immersive in their own right. Personally, I like to see a little bit more of what the game has to offer because, again, the game actually did have 3 pretty unique zones in the first 3 acts, so that's actually really good. And I think if you're actually invested in a world like this, I think they did a really good job of it. Of course, no review is complete without a few critiques, and no game is perfect, especially one in early access. But honestly, there weren't that many issues. My main 2 critiques will be first off the bugs we talked about a second ago. The game is also constantly being patched, so we'll have to see how it goes in the full release, but as of what I played in the test server, I ran into 1 bug. It wasn't really a big deal. And it fixed itself, so maybe iron out the bugs. That's the biggest critique I would give. And then the more of a gameplay critique I would give, it would be the ammo sustain. I did a pretty decent job of swapping between weapons and using the ammo system as it's pretty intended, but I did feel a bit ammo starved at times here and there, and I was on normal difficulty, so I think that there needs to be a little bit of ammo increase around the map, maybe making enemies drop a little bit more, or maybe just give a little bit more ammo before like the major encounters. Through the majority of the game, I had good ammo, but there were key moments where I ran out of ammo, so that would be something I would probably recommend to the devs to watch out for. So what's the final verdict? Well, La Quimera is an early access title that offers a very unique setting, solid gunplay, great performance, and a surprisingly strong narrative, all while being a fully co-op game with up to 2 friends. Again, it's early access, so you're getting 3 acts for now, but they do a great job of showing what the game does well. And from speaking with the devs, it's clear that the team is committed to continuing to deliver that level of quality as the game continues to develop. I will say, if you're someone who's really into very story-driven FPS games, especially games somewhat reminiscent of like the Crisis games I remember back in the day, this is probably going to be one of those games you want to keep your eyes on. The dystopian Latin America setting is refreshing and completely different. Again, something I've never seen, and if and when the updates keep coming, I think it's going to be easily justified at its current price. It's not perfect, but what I've seen so far, it does have a really solid foundation, and overall I'll definitely be following this game as it gets closer to its 1.0 launch. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Anyways, that's it for this one. If you're interested in supporting the game, check out Quimera down in the description. I have a direct link for you to check it out. Huge shout out to Redburn for sponsoring this video and giving me the ability to give my unfiltered thoughts on the game. I really love when devs give you that ability, and I had a really great time jumping in, so I appreciate that. I'm really looking forward to more future updates. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.